Jordan, how are you?
I'm doing good.
It's nice to see you in person finally.
Yeah, it's been a while, a few interviews. It only took me, like 4 for me, Alex to get here for me, but I'm pretty excited about it.
Book checkup. How many books have you read so far this year?
This year, I think about like 26, but that includes novellas, so really it's probably like 20.
And last time you said that you're reading longer books instead of shorter books this year, right?
Yeah.
Well, what's the best book you've read so far?
So far this year, it is either The Murderbot Diaries, which is like a series of novellas, or it is The Eye of the World. I just finished the first book of The Wheel of Time, and it was pretty dang good.
Okay. I saw that you did some commentary. Was it last week?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago now.
2 weeks ago? How was that?
I really enjoyed commentary. I thought I would be a little bit more nervous. I thought I'd have some anxiety because I have a lot of anxiety for public speaking, but that was really natural. I didn't stutter once, so that was a win for me. I didn't stutter or slur my words, so that was nice.
You say stutter, I stutter too, so I always get anxiety. Was that your first time stuttering? I mean, not stuttering. Was your first time doing commentary?
Yeah, it was my first time commentary, and it was my first time doing commentary, and yeah, I've had a speech impediment and a stutter growing up. So when I get nervous or excited, it comes out. So when you're watching 5 of your teammates fight, I was like, just don't get excited, don't sound stupid, and I think I avoided it.
Would you do it again?
Oh yeah, I love that. I want to do that a lot more.
Would you want to be like kind of on the desk for like a desk analyst for the UFC in the future?
That's the real career plan. This fighting thing's just to kind of catapult me to that commentary table, because getting punched for money not as enjoyable as talking about fights for money. So that's the real goal. I'm taking Paul Felder's job.
And you said that it was with a bunch of your teammates where you were. Were there any good performances?
Yeah, 2 of the 4 teammates won. So our amateurs won, our pros lost. So I guess the pros are a little bit more important. But amateur fights went well. Few of the kids take my wrestling class 2 times a week, and I could definitely take credit for that because they were winning because of their wrestling and stuff. So yeah, I was pretty happy about it.
You're coming up on your anniversary of your Contender Series fight. I guess could you reflect on that fight?
Yeah. It seemed like so much longer ago than less than a year, because so much of my life has changed since then. I had my debut, and then I won that, and the bonus kind of changed my life, gave us financial stability, and then I had my first loss, which also feels pretty good in hindsight. This fighting thing's a journey, and there's ups and downs, and I've had a nice year. Dream came true, money problems were kind of solved for the next 2 or 3 years, and then had a loss. So I finally got to go home a loser. I've never done that before. It's been a good year, a lot of changes.
And then, I guess just the Contender Series is coming back in general. I guess just how important is that for fighters trying to get into the UFC?
Contender Series is super important, especially as you see more and more fighters getting cut for just lack of activity, or they lose one and then they get cut, or even some fighters are finding ways to make money and have financial stability outside the UFC. So it's kind of harder to break in unless you want to do something last minute, which is never ideal, because having a camp for the biggest fight of your life is generally preferable. And Contender Series is really good opportunities, even if you don't win, just to get your name on television across the world. Get the opportunity to have a fight in front of Dana White and the other UFC executives, so that they can notice you and they'll keep you in the back of their mind, even if you don't win. Even just me getting the call for Contender Series, it's just a lot of validation, because that's when you really make it. When you can get the UFC call anytime, you're kind of made in the fight game.
Now, we haven't heard from you since your first professional loss against Claudio Puelles. I guess kind of talk about that fight in general. I mean, what I don't know if what went wrong, or just
Yeah, I think I just had a lack of urgency. I wasn't flowing. I think I just assumed I was going to win the grappling exchanges, as opposed to actually grappling better than him. And so it doesn't matter if you think you're better on paper, you got to be better on fight night, and I just was expecting to just be better, and I didn't fight better. And he improved a lot. He hadn't fought in almost 2 years. So, and when you're as young as him and I are, you can improve a lot in 2 years. So he was better than we thought. I was worse than I thought, and no excuses. Sometimes you just lose.
You didn't overlook him at all, right?
No. I kept saying in interviews how I'm expecting him to be a lot better than he was, because I think he just turned 25. He's young. Like, you know, when you've only been training for 10 years and 2 of those years you haven't fought, like, a lot of exponential change can happen. And I was expecting that. Did I think he was going to be as strong a wrestler as he was? No, not at all. And I didn't think he'd be as comfortable as he was on top of me. He was really good at keeping scrambles from happening, and, you know, and that's kind of like the best way to lose, you know. Like, I absorbed like maybe 12 strikes, and I got home, and besides like my knees being ripped up from the mat, like went on a date with my wife. Besides going home a loser, it was a pretty decent day. I've had sparring sessions where I was in a lot worse shape.
If you could take one thing away from that fight, what would it be?
Urgency. I have to have more urgency when I fight. Because I looked horrible. I looked gassed. And I wasn't gassed, I was just waiting for things to happen. I'm like, oh, it's fine. Because eventually he's going to get impatient, and then I'm going to submit him, and then he did not. He was very patient. You know, kudos to him. Us young fighters generally aren't patient. So he outweighted me, and I just ran out of time. I never lose fights, I just run out of time. I want that on the record. But yeah, urgency. I have to try to win every second of every fight.
Now, that was your first professional loss. You know, it's always fascinating to me about how athletes handle that. I mean, how did that handle it? Did it sting? Were you sad? I guess, you know, just kind of talk about that.
Besides the smaller paycheck, I actually felt pretty good about it. When, like, you're winning all your fights, and I started fighting when I was 19 as an amateur, like right out of high school, and all I've had is a success up to this point, and I fought a lot of good guys. I only fought 3 guys with losses on their record, and so, you know, everything that I was doing was working, and I never had any outward sign that I needed to change some things. It's like, well, don't fix what ain't broke. And yeah, it's nice to be able to come home after a fight and know what you have to work on, to have mistakes, because when you make mistakes in a fight but then you still end up winning it, it's like, oh, you were just waiting for your opportunity, you're waiting for the opening to take advantage of it. And sometimes the opening doesn't present yourself. You had to go out and make your openings, and I learned that lesson, and I'm lucky that I didn't get hurt, especially because of my fight before that. Karma kind of scared something bad could have happened to me, and I'm glad, like, you know, the gods of war kind of blessed me with a rather harmless loss.
And then, you know, like you said, it sucks to lose and no one wants to lose, but I guess having that undefeated record off of your shoulders, I mean, is it kind of like a relief? Like, you don't have to be like, oh, Jordan, like, when am I going to get that 0 taken away?
Oh, you know? It was a crazy relief. Literally within like 8 minutes after my fight, I'm backstage, and my wife calls me, and she's like, how are you feeling? I'm like, actually pretty good. She's like, me too. Because we both didn't know what to expect from the loss. She wasn't sure if I was gonna freak out and like punch holes in the wall or cry, and I was worried that she'd be too coddling, but we're very similar in temperament. So she's like, you're not hurt? Yeah, how do you feel about it? You know, it's just a loss. We still have good money, we're still secure, we're still where we wanna be. I mean, I'm really lucky. Less than 1% of fighters get to do what I do, and to just do this and to just focus on this, and I haven't lost the, you know, I'm still very aware of like where I'm at and how blessed I am.
So you had a really busy year last year. What do you want to keep busy this year as well?
Yeah, I love being in fight camp. I never really gained too much weight in between fights, and I like just having an opponent in mind to focus on when I'm training. But I just love to train, so I'm here all the time. Even though I don't have a fight, I'm still training, I'm still hitting the bag, I'm still hitting strength and conditioning. I'm always trying to make little incremental gains. But I was hoping to be more active, but after 2020, so many fighters didn't get to be active. So, I mean, they deserve to get the opportunity to make their living. So if I have to wait several months, maybe the rest of this year, you know, it's better for the division and the organization as a whole for us all to be fighting, putting food on the table, because 2020 was crazy. You had a bunch of fighters basically just staying in Las Vegas year round, getting like 5 or 6 fights, and some of us, especially foreign fighters, they couldn't like leave their homes and train for like a chance of them having to pull out because of COVID. So, you know, selfishly, yes, I wish I had more fights, but I'm trying to be, you know, a more charitable, benevolent person, and I think it's better that I don't fight right now so other people get the opportunity.
If the UFC calls you today and asks you, when do you want to fight? When would you like to fight?
I would love to fight in October or November. Right before Thanksgiving would be ideal, you know, and not too close to Christmas. So October, November, I like that. That would be the Goldilocks zone for me.
Do you want to fight in front of a crowd, or do you want to just stay in Las Vegas?
Ooh, I hate to travel. I'm terrified of flying. So I guess Texas, you know, that's a pretty short plane ride. I can take a sleeping pill and kind of ride that one out. But Abu Dhabi, I mean, I have to be like a drug addict to take that many pills and sleep through that flight. So hopefully I don't have to go to Abu Dhabi. I would love to fight in Vegas, even if it's in front of just a few dozen people. I like fighting in the small venue. And I don't know, maybe now that people like me and I'm kind of popular, I'm not gonna get booed. But when you're like traveling around to hometowns and beating these people, you know, people boo it. I didn't like being booed particularly a lot. It didn't feel very nice. So as long as I'm liked by the crowd, yeah, I'd love to fight in front of the crowd.
And two other things. So we are at Syndicate. I guess just talk about the importance of Syndicate and just how important it is to, you know, local Vegas fighters and just, you know.
Vegas is a very interesting fight city because there's a bunch of really big gyms, but they're also very transient gyms. So you constantly have people flying in and out, and you never really have like a stable group of training partners, like at least not a big group. And I'm very lucky at Syndicate because we have a bunch of guys who are here year round, and I've been with them for like 5 to like 8 years, and we've really got to like kind of grow in a brotherhood and get to really help bring each other up. And at least in Vegas, there's not really any other gym where I could have that, where I could have like close teammates that I'm probably never gonna have to fight, that are always gonna be here, that you can rely on and you could be there for them. So Syndicate, just like all my family's here, you know. My fight family, the people that have been with me since I was nobody are here. It's just really important to, you know, for me at least, to stay close to my roots and to be aware of the people that helped me make it here.
Who are some of your main training partners?
My main training partners are Leavitt, Gerard Blacklitz, Brandon Jenkins, Shane Shapiro. Those are my main 4. And like if I have those guys, I really don't need much. I don't need much else. You know, like you don't need to have a bunch of world-class top 10ers in your like training room, because you know when you get to the UFC, like the level of difference between each individual fighter is just so little. You know, basically who makes the least amount of mistakes who wins these, and when it gets to this level. And I just have some of the best training partners in the world, and I'm super blessed.
And I should have started this interview by talking about, you know, dad life. How is the dad life?
I really enjoy dad life. It's easier, it came more natural to me than I thought. Like, I didn't grow up with a dad, so I never really had like a father figure until my mom got married when I was like 18, you know. So like having that lack of a father figure, I had a lot of insecurities about like how I would be as a dad and if I'm really cut out to be. And I've always wanted kids, but there's always that fear. I feel like a lot of guys have that fear. So I'm surprised by how natural it came to me. You know, it's like when you have no choice but to be a dad, I feel like you kind of just got to be a dad, and I think that's true. And I enjoy it. It's nice to have this little person and see them like grow and see like them develop like exponentially. And you know, she could barely sit up, and sometimes she face plants, and then she laughs, and it's just all like, it's like the really precious moments. And I'm really lucky that I like fight in the UFC, and like I could really be home a lot more than a lot of people working a 9 to 5. Like as long as I work out like 4 to 6 hours a day, like that's a pretty decent workload. And I haven't had to miss a single moment, and I'm super blessed, and I'm super thankful that I'm able to like be a dad and be there. Because you know, when you grow up with a working mom, she doesn't like has to pay all the bills and everything. Like sometimes your parents aren't there, and I'm really lucky to be able to be there.
And plug your social media.
Oh yeah, if you want to follow me, if you like nice wholesome memes about F-bombs, follow my page, Monkey King UFC. I post yoga pictures, split videos, some dance moves occasionally. I don't like Twitter, Twitter's evil, but I have a Twitter too, Mr. Jojo Monkey King. Yeah, and come join me on my journey.
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you.